Caleb Swanigan might be the most underrated player in America right now because not enough people are talking about him.
Is he at the top of the list, or is he a part of the list of guys in college that you tune in to watch?
Well,
because he is for me. I think he's must-see TV for me.
I would say that Caleb Swanigan is the best player of the three.
14 double-double games, 4 games of 20 points, 20 rebounds.
It's what we've seen a ton of, and it's Caleb Swanigan. Caleb Swanigan has been the most dominant force, I'd say, in college basketball.
Caleb Swanigan's life has been a collection of unknowns. There was a time when he didn't know where he was going to sleep at night, or where his next meal was going to come from. He didn't know what the future would hold, or if there would even be one. His dreams were always clear. His reality was anything but. The one constant throughout his life, other than NBA aspirations, was the ability to transform into whatever he needed to be. From a 360-pound eighth grader to a world-class athlete. From a homeless and aimless teenager to a disciplined member of a non-traditional but vital family unit. From a high school kid scratching the surface of his potential while still towering over the competition, to a struggling college freshman making his mark on the court but missing out on something off of it. And now, the latest transformation from a good player into a National Player of the Year candidate, doing things on the court that few can even dream of and fewer still have actually accomplished. Caleb Swanigan has always been able to transform. He has only recently become transformative. He's always had great aspirations, but now he's an inspiration. This is his story so far. There was nothing easy about Caleb Swanigan's childhood. A drug-addicted, abusive, and largely absent father, a mother with 6 kids, and little hope. From an early age, Swanigan and his family spent time in homeless shelters, moving back and forth between Utah and Indianapolis. Surrounded by drug use and poverty, with insecurity and uncertainty at every turn, the one place Caleb found refuge was the basketball court. Blessed with good height and natural ability, there was one major roadblock to his childhood NBA dreams. Obesity ran in his family, and it grabbed a hold of the boy that became known as Biggie. He had a sweet tooth early on, loved ice cream and junk food, and uncertain when or where his next meal might come from, he would eat as much as he could, whenever he could. Morbidly obese for his age, Swanigan's weight reached as high as 360 pounds by the time he turned 13 years old. There was seemingly only one path for his life, a path no child should have to endure, and it was a future he would have little control over. Seeing the road his little brother was going down, Carl Swanigan Jr. stepped in and contacted a distant family friend to try and give Biggie a better life. But more than that, any kind of life at all. Carl is 12 years older than Caleb and once had a promising basketball career himself, so he reached out to his former AAU basketball coach, Roosevelt Barnes, to see if Barnes could do the impossible, save his little brother's life.
He called me one day and just said, asked me how I was doing, and he said that he needed me to do something for him. And he said that he wanted Biggie. He said, I need you to take care of Biggie. I want to send Biggie out there to live with you. He said, well, I want him to come out there because he's different. He's different than all of us. He's got a different demeanor. And he said, if he doesn't come now, he said, I don't know what will happen to him. I want him to come before these streets get him.
Thus began the first transformation of Caleb Swanigan. Living in a structured environment for the first time in his life, with a strict diet and rules, the world started to make sense. And the dreams that seemed so far away began to come into focus.
When you have goals when you're little, sometimes it's fantasy. His goals probably when he was a little kid were fantasy. They were not going to happen. And he had a life-altering event when Roosevelt Barnes, took him in. It changed his life. Roosevelt committed to him, and they took off from there. And they probably had a lot of tough days.
I think it was a blessing that he crossed paths with Roosevelt Barnes. To take a kid that's not yours and do that, and it's wonderful. And it's paid dividends to change that kid's life.
He was always very smart and very strong-willed. I could talk to him and reason with him, and I would ask him questions, and he would have the answer. Like even the Wheaties story that everybody talks about. When we talked about it after the fact, I said, well, Biggie, you can't eat like that. And I asked him about eating. He had the answer. He said, you should eat lean meats, fruits and vegetables, complex carbohydrates. Now, this is a 13-year-old kid. So how'd you get so fat? He said, man, I ate what I could eat,
His problems were real problems. Those are real problems. And so the problems that I think I have, or some of our players think they have, to him, those aren't problems. And it makes you take a step back and, keep things in perspective.
In the years that followed his move to Fort Wayne, thanks to that strict diet and a rigorous exercise routine, Swanigan lost nearly 100 pounds while growing to be 6'9".
Again, the thing that impressed me about him was he never quit. If I gave him a task and I gave him a time, he never made the time. But he would never quit. He did the whole drill every time. It took him forever. And so that's what impressed me about him, and that's why I knew he was going to be special.
Sometimes in recruiting, you see a guy, then you don't see him for 2 months later. Then you don't see him maybe for 4 months later after that, just because of the windows and the availability. And all of a sudden, like each time you'd see him, you're like, whoa, he's made a big stride. He's really made a improvement in a short amount of time, just not in his ability to play, but in his body.
As he continued to lose weight and saw some progress, he started believing it. And then he bought into the process even more. It took some time, but it worked. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. And that's why I got that. I was like, he has to say and hear himself say it. He can't just hear me say it. He's got to say it. He's got to hear it come out of his own mouth. And it's manifesting today.
Swanigan reclassified to the class of 2015, eventually graduating in just 3 years from Homestead High School. That's quite a feat for a young man who never spent more than a year in any one school prior to moving in with Barnes.
He said, no, I want to go to Homestead because I've never gone to the same school for more than a semester. My classmates that I have now, I want to go all the way through school with.
On the court, his game rounded into form as well. His natural abilities became more apparent as the weight came off. By his final season, he led Homestead to a state title, became a McDonald's All-American, and earned Indiana Mr. Basketball honors.
He said, Homestead has never won in football or basketball. He said, if I win, now this is an 8th grader going to 9th grade. He said, if I win a football and a basketball state championship at Homestead, he said, I'll be a legend. To see him lead them to a state championship, and people didn't think it was going to happen, it was amazing. And he did what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to bring a state championship to Homestead, and he did.
He still had barely scratched the surface of his potential, a transformation that wouldn't come until he reached the next level. After helping Team USA to an under-19 world title, Biggie moved to West Lafayette to begin his college career, where he became Purdue's first Indiana Mr. Basketball since 1991 recipient and eventual National Player of the Year, Glenn Robinson.
Caleb Swanigan comes over, Mr. Basketball, commits to Michigan State, gets out of it. Next thing you know,
Caleb Swanigan has given his verbal commitment to play next season for the Purdue basketball team.
It was a huge statement, obviously. He's from Fort Wayne. You want to keep, the best players, at home. It's the only guy we've signed here that's been a McDonald's All-American. But it really made a statement that he chose us.
As a freshman, Swanigan led the Big Ten in rebounding while averaging 10.2 points per game. Not bad numbers for an 18-year-old who should still be finishing high school.
He put it in. Bucket counts. Bucket counts.
But not enough for a man with higher aspirations. So when he met with NBA officials to gauge his future in the league, he took their words to heart. Work on your body, work on your motor, work on your explosiveness. It was time to transform once more.
Going through that process and essentially being told by NBA people that this dream you've had your entire life, you're not ready for it yet. There's a lot of people that would be devastating. There's a lot of people that they would take that feedback and say they don't know what they're talking about. What's really remarkable about Biggie is he's able to take those things and not just get mad and maybe some of it, maybe you don't even agree with, but he understands that, especially at that level, their perception is his reality. And so he just got to work.
I think when he went on those workouts for the NBA teams, I think that really motivated him to say, okay, here's what I have to do. And seeing at that level, and talking to those guys and saying, okay, because he wants to be an NBA player. And that's so, again, it goes back to him listening and learning and then putting it into action. And that's exactly what he did this summer. Was he listened to what everybody was saying, and then he accepted it, said, you know what, I got to get better at these things, and he did it.
I've been around some guys that are pretty good and they worked hard, but I don't think I've been around anything to this level where, nothing deters this kid. Consul Martin was a guy that was determined. He was very determined. But Biggie's the type of guy that'll come in and get a workout in the morning, maybe lift weights before practice, go to practice, and afterwards he'll go get on the Stairmaster. I'm like, man, this guy's motor, is incredible.
I think it's something that Biggie prides himself on. I think that's where a lot of his confidence comes from, is the fact that in his mind, he knows, he is sure that there is no one in the country that works harder than him.
Swanigan spent the offseason dialed in. 2 hours of cardio and lifting per day, followed by 2 hours of shooting and drilling on the court. Mixed in with that were pickup games with the intensity of late February league play. Biggie transformed his body once more, going from muscular to chiseled, lowering his body fat and improving his quickness.
He's been chipping away at that piece of stone for years and years, and all of a sudden now you have a statue there.
I've coached some professionals that have been focused, but he has taken it to another level. Guys will work on their shot and they'll work on certain things every day, but he checks his checklist. It's pretty long, and he checks it off every day.
But the changes aren't just evident on the court. With his late commitment, there wasn't a lot of time for Caleb to get to know his teammates and coaches before moving to campus. It took a while for trust to build up on both sides.
He bought into what we were trying to do. I think he's just naturally reserved, and we kind of had him being here this past summer around us and his teammates. We got a chance to know each other. He wanted to be a leader. I know he came in and he talked to Coach Paint, and he said, "Hey, I want a bigger role." And, he wanted to put this team on his shoulders.
He's very guarded as a person, so when you see him and you don't know him, he's not going to give you much.
Aware that he was earning a public reputation of being distant at times, withdrawn from his team, Biggie put all concerns to bed last summer with a huge display of personality and affection with Instagram posts targeting his teammates. His relationship with the guys has always been good. Now he was okay with people seeing that.
He's fun to be around and just have around and play video games with. He's a character. He's got some of the craziest, phrases and sayings. You just really even have to be behind the scenes to really know who Caleb Swanigan really is.
He's just goofy, man. He's always doing something to make us laugh, or he's always trying to start an argument just to create conversation.
In the best shape of his life physically and with his personal life in balance, Swanigan has risen to another level this year. He leads the nation in rebounding and double-doubles. He went for 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists against defending national champion Villanova in November. He had 32 and 20 in 30 minutes against Norfolk State in December, and had 25 points and 17 rebounds at Michigan State in late January. And in the process of transforming his physique, his lifestyle, and his game, he's become a transformative player for Boilermaker basketball.
We kind of challenge each other. We used to play one-on-one, and then in the open gym, if we weren't on the same team, we were going at each other. We try to strive to, make each other better. And, with Caleb, it's always a hard competition with him.
He shoots every day. He works on his body every day. I think he has a more mature approach to the game. And then off the court, he's a lot more open with the guys. The guys really know his background story now, and they know he's a great guy and what he's about. And I think it's made our team a lot closer this year. It's made us a better team.
For Caleb Swanigan, the on-court success is vital for his future and the realization of his NBA dreams. But his work in the classroom is just as important. After struggling for much of his younger years, then graduating from high school in just 3 years, Swanigan is on pace to contend for academic All-America honors with a 3.3 grade point average through his sophomore year.
He's very intelligent. That's probably the one thing that jumps out because he's so guarded, he doesn't let a lot of people in. But that's the thing that jumps out with me. It's just how intelligent he is.
He's in position to graduate early from college. He's gonna, after this spring semester, he's going to need, close to 20 hours to graduate. So when you look at everything he's done since he's been here, it's been excellent.
Boy, it's inspirational to so many people. I'm his coach, and it inspires me. He's a kid in practice that, he may fall, he may get hit, and experience some pain, and it's like it makes him go harder.
We talk about it often now, about how much he loves his family and they love him. So him being successful is important to his family, and Biggie being successful and making sure that they're proud of him is important to him too.
Life has not been easy for Caleb Swanigan. It wasn't easy to bounce from shelter to shelter, school to school, city to city. It wasn't easy for his family to give him away in order to save his life. It wasn't easy to change his eating habits, to embrace his new regimen, and to transform every aspect of his being. But what great things in life ever come easy? Attaining greatness is hard. Achieving excellence is hard. Playing with the weight of an entire family on your shoulders is impossible. But Caleb Swanigan has never met a challenge tougher than him. Why would he start now?